Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back. We are on episode 7. Today we are going to talk about PTSD. And PTSD in the sense you can have PTSD for a lot of reasons. I'm going to talk about PTSD from relationships. Obviously you can have them in friendships too, but I can't honestly say I have any PTSD from a friendship or anything like that. So I will focus on PTSD from relationships, since I can relate about that and talk about it just from obviously past experience. I'm pretty sure anybody who has been in a relationship, a friendship, probably has some sort of PTSD, whether people want to admit it or not. Even if you stayed in the relationship, or you're currently in it, again, when things happen, I just feel like you're going to end up having PTSD. Or triggers, you can call them triggers. I don't know if they go hand in hand, but that's what I kind of call them, as PTSD or triggers. And as a human being, obviously, I know for me, and again, this may be everybody, it's hard to not carry that over into the next relationship. Because as human beings, that's what we do. But I will say personally, I really try my best to not carry that over. But I just think regardless, you're going to do that. But I feel like I have, figured out, for me, what works best for me as far as going into the next relationship, so as to not sabotage it or whatever. So, again, I'll just speak upon some of my PTSD issues, because I obviously can't speak about nobody else's. I will say my first real relationship, the one I moved out with, I think it was 22. And I had talked about this in a past podcast. But anyway, after the whole situation with me, came home and his stuff was all packed up. No explanation, just completely blindsided. That for me, some of the things that it affected were just so crazy and common. But we used to watch the NBA all the time together. I couldn't watch basketball like that. I like nighttime, because this happened, when I got home at night. Nighttime, I did not do well. I think if I remember correctly, I used to leave the TV on, which I cannot do nowadays. But I feel like I remember I did that. Obviously, just that heartbreak feeling in your stomach, that feeling, obviously. And then obviously, abandonment, was the big one. And then obviously there was, trust issues after I found out a whole bunch of stuff after that. But again, I really, even as traumatic and horrible as that obviously first real experience was, I really try not, I've always been really mindful of really not trying to carry that over to the next person, because, they didn't do anything to me. It wasn't them. And I try to, treat everybody as an individual. I base my opinion, that's cute. Knew that was going to happen. Love it. Right in the middle of it. so annoying. Anyway, I base my opinion based off of obviously each individual person. So, technical difficulties. See, it looks like it's about to do it again. It's like I can't even move. Welcome to podcasting. Amateur. Okay, anyway. So that all happened, so on and so forth. So go into the next relationship. Oh, and boy, did they go downhill from there. That came with the lying. That came with the cheating. To the point where I found out that, and this was my ex-husband, he took pictures off the wall, and like would hide them. So obviously he would bring the females to our house, would have sex in our bed. I would get phone calls, women calling my phone, house phone, talking about I'm effing your husband, this, that, or whatever. And it even went to the point, I don't remember, I mean, this was towards the end. I remember he, big partier, like club, whatever. I'm not so much. But if memory serves me right, my best friend actually had come out from Utah. This was when I lived in Pennsylvania. We were at the club. And one of the girls he had been messing with was there too at the club. And he was with me or whatever like that. I don't even know if we were together, to be honest. God, I don't even remember. But he had his friends there, whatever. Obviously I knew them, blah, blah, whatever. And she kept like walking by him, bumping him, right? Like, and she did it a couple times. And I was like, what? Like, what are we doing here? Like, what are we doing? Like, obviously she knew he was married or whatever. Again, I don't remember if we were still together. Like, maybe we were, maybe it was toward the end. But anyway, I remember, I was like, she got one more time to do this. And she walked by, and then I know I stepped to her, and then he came in between. Then his friends came over and like ended up getting her out of the club, which I'm not gonna lie, I thought was comical. It reminded me of that like Chris Brown song where he's like, "You ain't even inside the club. What can you do?" or something along those lines. But anyway, I was like, you gotta feel like an ass. I mean, look where you are, idiot. But anyway, that was the drama. So with that, obviously became the issue with trust issues. You know, again, the lying, the cheating, that type of stuff or whatever, came from that, right? Again, I was still like, you know, I'm not going to judge every man. Not every man's bad, blah, blah, whatever. And then I got into the next relationship. And that came with a lot in a sense, because that was the longest relationship. That was 6 years. But I even got PTSD when it came to his child, because there was so much drama with his child and his mother. Yeah. When I mean, drama city, that I feel like it really affected me, and may still to this day affect me with my own child, and not so much both of my kids, but just with my oldest. And I've had a conversation with my oldest about this, but I really feel that going through that relationship with him and all the stuff that we dealt with his daughter and his mother has honestly affected my relationship with my daughter, also based off of stuff she has done too. But I'm very much aware, like I'm aware of these things, which is why I said I had a conversation with my daughter about it, because it's like I want to change things and make things better type of thing. And he was not affectionate. And I think maybe because I was just so used to having affection all the time, it was like extremely hard for me. And, you know, you realize it more when you get out of it. You're like, damn, yeah. And then again, with him, abandonment again, because that's when we had come back from vacation and he just dropped the ball on me that, you know, he was done. So I now have like abandonment issue, right? I shouldn't say issues, but this is the trauma. So like you got abandonment so far. You have lying, obviously cheating, which became obviously, you know, PTSD or triggers for me. Then I got into the next, we didn't have a title, but this was the next person that I actually like exclusively dated. And again, everything was great. And once again, blindsided again by abandonment. So you figure now, I've got 3 now who have blindsided me. And I'm not exaggerating when I tell you blindsided. Like, no forewarning, no nothing. Just like I said, done. Either I'm told I'm done, I came home and gone, like, yeah. So as a human being, you're like, what is going on, right? And then I dated another one exclusively too. And that, honestly, now that I think about it, that one was so easy breezy and the greatest ever that I don't think I had any PTSD from that one. Thank the Lord, right? That kind of dissolved on its own or whatever. Long story short, maybe I'll do a podcast about that situation. I don't know. And then the last relationship, this was more of a long distance relationship, which honestly, I am not like, what is the word I'm looking for? Damn, I can't even think of the word. I'm not against long distance relationships. Honestly, to a certain extent, I honestly kind of more veered towards that after the long distance relationship I had prior to the last, because you really get to know somebody and just can connect on a deep level without like the physicality part of it. So yeah, long distance was never an issue for now. Obviously you don't want that for like long term or whatever, but yeah, I never shied away from it. So the last relationship was basically a long distance for the most part. All obviously we had was communication. But again, everybody is raised differently and everybody is different, right? So this person was, and you know what's crazy though, now that I look back at everybody, like everybody says you have a type. And if I look at the, what is it, actually five or maybe it's six of them, they are very similar in the sense of they're very chill and laid back. You know what I mean? Like very chill, laid back, not into social media. And for that, I love that. Like, I'll take that. That's my type, right? I wouldn't say look-wise a type. You know, as far as, I mean, obviously, I only date black men, but I'm just saying as far as the black men, like, but their personalities were very similar. So yeah, the last one, again, was just not as expressive, like, with feelings wise or whatever, which obviously most men aren't anyway, but not detailed or whatever, more of a shower, right? More of a shower, which is a little difficult when you're, you know, long distance. Great when we was in person, right? But harder when you're apart. So, and then again, blindsided and with abandoned, broke up. So now we have, out of what, the 6 of them, 5 of them just abandoned, like just abandoned. I guess that's the word I would use, abandoned. So obviously with all of that PTSD / triggers, I will say this, for me, what I always try to do going into the next relationship is very much communicate. And so you don't have to try to figure me out. I just think that that's something you should do, right? It's part of communication and trust and building a foundation is I will tell you, right? Like I will tell you what my past trauma is, whatever, what is PTSD or triggers for me or whatever, because how are you to know, right? Like when you go into a relationship, you're just getting to know somebody, they're not going to know. And I would like the same in return, right? So I try to be very intentional with that when you go into a new relationship, with explaining, you know, obviously as you're getting to know somebody or whatever, and you have these conversations about past relationships or whatever, because obviously you try not to repeat the same thing, right? Like you want the next relationship to be better. And I'm all for working on myself or blah, blah, whatever. But I'm very intentional when I communicate to them, you know, what my triggers are, what has happened, what is like a trigger for me, what I don't like, so on and so forth. And I want to know yours too, right? It's only fair. But I just want to really verbalize what the PTSD or triggers are, so as to avoid those, right, in the new relationship. Because again, they may do something and they have no idea, right? And you flip out and you're like, what's going on? They're gonna have no idea. So for me, like I said, I really try to, as you're getting to know somebody, really to help them understand me, I kind of like to lay that stuff out there. Doesn't mean it's going to prevent it from happening again. No matter how much I could communicate and tell them and this, that, or whatever. Because yeah, it happened, especially the, like I said, the abandonment one. I guess I would say a trigger maybe for me, or I guess wouldn't be PTSD, but a trigger for me more would be like somebody that like you can't have a conversation with. It like escalates so quickly. Like for me, we're two grown adults. We should be able to have a conversation and talk about anything and everything. I remember I've dated people, and it's like the minute you start having like a conversation, whether it's about feelings or emotions or whatever, and they immediately like went from 1 to a million for no reason, I'm like, yeah, that's not going to work for me. Because unnecessary arguing is just, yeah, I value my peace too much, especially for the unnecessary arguing. I know relationships are not going to be perfect and sunshine and lollipops every day, but as two grown-ass people, you should be able to have conversations. You can agree to disagree, right? But it's just about a respect thing. So yeah, that's definitely a trigger for me. I can't do the like walking around on eggshells, can't speak my mind, obviously respectfully, and we can't just not talk about things. Like, yeah, that's definitely a trigger for me. And again, these are things that I communicate, right? And I want them to communicate to me, you know, what theirs are. And like, I think for me, just because I've only ever been with black men, and you know, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't want to speak for all black men. I guess just based off of my experiences or maybe stuff that I've seen or so on and so forth. And this may be all men, I don't know. I think it's harder for me because the crazy thing is my dad is more emotional than my mom. And so I grew up around that, like a man having, like being able to express his feelings and emotions. Like I find that extremely attractive, and like I want a man to be able to express his feelings and emotions, and I'm like a safe place for him to do that. I don't think expressing your feelings and emotion as a man is a negative thing in any way, shape, or form. And I make that very clear as well. But I do feel, maybe just because again I grew up like that, my dad expressing his feelings and emotions, and it was just normal. Like I said, my mom is less emotional than my dad is. That I feel like a lot of black men, and again, like they're not raised to be able to feel like they can do that, or they always have to be tough or strong. You know, don't talk about it, you know, just keep it in, whatever. And again, that has been a lot of my experience. I mean, I don't want to say I've had, you know, people co-sign on it, but I have talked about it with men that I have been with or men that I have dated, and they have agreed with me. You know, because then they get called, oh, you're a pussy, or you're weak, or blah, whatever. And again, it's just like, you know, as a woman, you want to feel safe with who you're with so you can be submissive to them. I think it's the same for a man, to be able to feel safe, to be able to express his feelings and emotions, and know he's in a safe place. But yeah, that's just, I just feel like, again, that's what I've experienced or whatever, with, you know, again, obviously only dating black men, and whatnot, which makes me sad. It does. It makes me sad. I don't, like I said, I don't find it a weakness, and I feel like men and women should equally be able to express their feelings and emotions. But again, like I said, I feel like it's major important that you communicate that to whoever you're dating or whatever, from each other. It's not just one-sided, it's both. So as to help the relationship, right? So you're not constantly hitting those triggers, or constantly, you know, reoccurring PTSD with somebody or whatever. You know, and then it's like, if somebody does hit a trigger of yours, obviously in the beginning, or not even in the beginning, just in general, have a conversation. Have a simple, grown conversation about it. It doesn't have to be an argument or whatever. Have a conversation. Hey, I didn't like when you did this because it reminds me of this. Whatever. It's so simple. Just have a conversation about it. You know what I mean? And again, like I said, it goes both ways. It's men and women. You want to be able to respectfully, you know, have the conversation and work through that, right? I feel like it, you know, makes you closer as a couple if you know, you can do that. Helps the relationship evolve, grow, so on and so forth. Or even a friendship. If you got an issue with your friend, right? Feel free to have the conversation. If they've hurt your feelings in some way, or something that they've done is a trigger, a PTSD or whatever. Again, it goes both ways. You just have the adult conversation, so you can move forward, you know? You know, as the saying goes, closed mouths don't get fed type of situation. So, just kind of to recap, like I said, for me, what I feel has worked best for me doesn't mean it's, when I say work best for me, here I am, still had PTSD or triggers happening to me. But anyway, I know for me, I did everything that I could on, you know, on my ends of it, making that very clear. So they were not trying to figure out what the hell was going on, or why I'm reacting the same way I am, or whatever, or why I am the way that I am, or whatever. I've made that very clear. I will communicate and let you know what's going on type of situation. And I think that's just good advice, you know, whether, like I said, whether that's a friendship, or a relationship. Basically, make people aware, right? Because if they're not aware, how are they going to know? And in all reality, it's really that simple. Because again, us as humans, you're going to, you know, human nature carried over to the next, you know, the next person or whatever. So that's it. That's mine. Again, feel free to, you know, subscribe, like, comment. Hopefully I'll get this one where you can comment. And then share if you want to, like I said, how you feel about this situation, your thoughts on it or whatever. And we'll be back again next week for another episode. Hopefully I wasn't long-winded on that. Okay.